All investment banks are the same, aren't they? The other day I was speaking to a prospective client and he said, you know what? I get a lot of phone calls and emails from you people. And I said, you people, who do you refer to? And he said, investment bankers, people trying to sell my business. There's lots of you out there. You're all the same, aren't you? And that was his fatal final words before a 45-minute monologue ensued as to why that's not the case. But after that conversation, we were able to condense some of those thoughts today into a fairly abbreviated version as to why all investment banks are not the same. We're going to walk through 10 primary elements, differentiators, things you should look for, with one secret or resolution, conclusion to having all of these things the right way. I'm Arthur Petropoulos, managing partner here at Hillview Partners. We're a middle market, lower middle market investment banking firm, helping companies typically generating $1 million to $10 million a year in EBITDA, sell their businesses, or secure capital. And so, the first thing to look for in differentiating investment banks is timing. I'll say one, we'll make a clock. Time. Now, we sell a business at 6 months start to finish, 3 months to offers, 3 months to closing. There's plenty of investment banks out there that'll have an 18 to 24 month lockup, kind of like a listing agreement, where they're effectively going to, when we get to the audience, throw the net out, pray for the phone to ring, and maybe someone will want to buy the business. And what happens in a lot of those situations, unfortunately, is you're going to sell the business. 21 months into it, you haven't talked to the banker in 3 months, yet they appear and say, hey, you're selling the business, great, don't forget about our fee. So, in our engagements, we're talking about a 6 month start to finish. Number 2, fees. We got a upside down fish with a dollar sign or a bag of money, but that's the point here, is what are the fees that come along with the deal? Now, a lot of people will say, now the conventional investment banking fee, $50,000 to $100,000 up front. Again, you have that listing agreement, and there's this tricky thing called either must-take provisions or minimum fees. So someone says, hey, we're going to get you all the great outcomes in the world, we're going to get you all the offers, but if you decide to terminate the engagement, but if you decide you don't want to take any of those offers, you still have to pay us $250,000. You still have to pay us $500,000, whatever percentage it is that's agreed to. But these minimum fees are these must-take provisions, and the must-take provision being someone says, hey, we'll give you X dollars for the company, and the banker says, well, if we get you an offer of X dollars for the company, then you must pay us the fee whether you take it or not. Now, the differentiator there is, what about all the other terms? The structure of the deal. What if someone says, I'll give you $1 billion if you can climb Mount Everest with no clothes on? There's a million different reasons why things cannot happen. So if a deal does not happen, should you pay a fee? We think not. But look out for those. Minimum fees, must-take provisions. And again, upfront large retainers for people that you don't know that well either. Now, number 3 is going to be team. And so, you talk to someone great on the phone. You have a wonderful Zoom meeting with a handsome guy in a tweed jacket who says, we can sell your business for all the money in the world. However, once you sign up, they say, here's our 5 people. They're all 19 years old. They've kind of done some deals, but you're in great hands. Good luck. And you never hear back from the first person again. Now, in many investment banking firms, you have teams of managing directors sourcing business, and you have different analyst pods, if you will, that depending on who you kind of slot in with, it's like the game of Plinko. Sometimes it's the good team, sometimes it's the bad team. Are you the $1 billion client, or are you the $20 million client? Well, if you're the $20 million, you probably won't get the $1 billion team. Now, so all of the prestige and pedigree in the world of a particular firm isn't going to help you if you've got 3 guys that played football at Ivy League schools. No offense, no insults intended here, but you want the real deal of who's helping you. So at our firm, we've got 14 people. Every person touches the deal the exact same way. Like it or not, I'm always the interface with the client. You're going to talk to me. You're going to communicate with me. I'm going to help you through the exercise, as well as negotiate the deals with the counterparties and do a lot of other things. But every person in each of our departments works on every deal the same exact way. And so let's say team here, instead of you just having a random smattering of somebody and say, oh, we'll have that person, that person, that person, with our company, it is a whole lot of data points, and you get all of them. So you get everybody that's involved. Number 4, responsiveness. You want to communicate with people who are going to respond very quickly. You send them an email, you hear back in a few hours. You make a phone call, they call you back. If you call them and leave them a message at 7 o'clock at night, you get a text message or an email at 10 o'clock at night saying, this is where it stands. Uncertainty and non-responsiveness is the death of a lot of deals and a lot of peace of mind for sellers of companies. And so, again, let's have here a phone not ringing, and here a phone with noise coming out of it because someone called you back. And the worst thing in business is when you have a concern and you don't hear back. And so you don't want to wonder who's going to call you back, when you're going to get called back. You want to know. I leave a message, I'm going to hear back at least by the end of the day, if not within a few hours, to at least say, hey, we're working on it, this is the next step. Number 5, discretion. And we'd say on the bad side of things and the good side of things. The good side of things, you want it to be a whisper. The bad side of things, it is going to be told to everyone. And what controls discretion is who actually hears about what's for sale. And so many investment banks, it's going to be a mailing list. There's 10,000 people, and they'll say, oh, we do it anonymously. But we let everybody in the world know that there's a Detroit, Michigan clinical laboratory testing space that works particularly with med tech devices for FDA compliance that serves lots of different companies. Now, if you're the only company that does that thing, it's not going to take a whole lot of ChatGPT searches for anyone to find out that you're that person. Not to mention, they're not going to be particularly careful about who's signing the NDA. It could be your competitors. It can be anyone. In our situations, it's not 10,000 hopes and prayers that we're reaching out to of random entrepreneurs that maybe they want to buy a business. It's 200 to 300 people that specifically do want to buy your business or would want to buy your business because of, again, we'll get into it in a later variable here. But again, discretion being you want as few people to know the name of the company, as few people to know what your objectives are. Are you selling the business? Is the company for sale? Well, in our position, we'd say we're evaluating strategic alternatives. Sale could be something of interest. However, ownership wants to gather data points in order to be comfortable with whatever the next step of the business might be, maybe even just continuing to run it. Number 6 is the narrative. And so when you're selling a business, what you do not want your investment bank to do is dump a 75-page pitch book on someone's desk and say, hey, this is exciting. Don't you want to buy it? Because especially if you're selling a $1 to $100 million company to a $1 billion plus company, they're going to say, tell me about the company. Oh, but we have 37 pages in here to tell you, Honeywell, to tell you, Danaher, Roper, about how the industrial world is going to evolve over the next 5 years. And they say, thanks, kid. We spent billions of dollars figuring this stuff out. Just tell me about the company. Get to the essence of the business, the narrative. And so what most people do then is they get a one-legged stool, also known as a stick in the ground, saying, this is EBITDA. Don't you want to pay a lot of this? I might have spelled EBITDA wrong there, but you get the point. Don't you want to pay a high multiple of this EBITDA? Whereas the company says, maybe, but again, what are you addressing? What are you appealing to if you say, I want to sell just on EBITDA? You're appealing to something good. Let's call it pleasure. You're saying, wouldn't it be pleasurable, company A, to buy this business because it's so wonderful? And they'll say, maybe, but if you didn't contemplate getting a cupcake today, would you be that bothered if you didn't get a cupcake? Not really. But in our process, and what we think is a more thoughtful process, it is a three-legged stool. You have EBITDA, or what we call the fundamentals, the revenues, the profit generation of the business. 2, you have the access of the business. What's the industry, geographic, demographic, end user market of the services you provide? That's going to have a lot of value. And lastly is capabilities. What do you do better than everybody else? Why do you not compete on price? And if you highlight these latter 2 categories of access and capabilities, you are going to have a much better audience. Because again, what do these things play to? They play to pain and the fear of future pain. A prospective acquirer is desperately trying to build out their strategic platform. They need access, they need capabilities. If they don't get those things, they have pain. It's not this would be nice to have, it's that we must get these things. And therefore you are solving pain for them as opposed to just saying, would you like a cupcake? And so narrative is key, not just fundamentals. Fundamentals is your ticket to the dance, but access and capabilities, those are the differentiators. Now 7 is the audience or the outreach, right? And so most people are just spraying things out there to a hopeful audience, just a hole in the ground, waiting for deals, and maybe we get some, maybe we don't, and is there a match or is there not a match? In our situation, we are selling the missing puzzle piece, right? And so you say, this company is missing this access, this capability. And instead of just throwing stuff into a hole and seeing if we hear an echo, we are saying, you want to buy this company because it solves this problem you have. You don't have access. You don't have capabilities. If you had this missing puzzle piece, your strategy would be so much better and so much more evolved along the path you'd like. And because of this, people look at it as a buy versus a build. We were going to build this anyways, but now we don't have to because we can just buy it. It's a lot easier of a narrative. And so the narrative bleeds into the audience in terms of, if you know the narrative, you know the access and capabilities, you can look for who's missing them and then plug those gaps, find the missing puzzle piece. That's going to get the reception. That's going to get the traction. Now, number 8 is process. And this goes into timing, as we've discussed, as well as bleeding from narrative and audience. A process of a deal should not be a bunch of people daydreaming outside, wondering why, oh why hasn't the phone rung? Where does everything sit? What are we waiting for? Do you think they're going to get back to us today? Instead, we want a conveyor belt. Right? Think of the little Amazon boxes going to all of the happy people in the world. And so we're not waiting for things. There's a process, there's steps, there's deadlines and contingencies. There's things people need to do or they're out of the process. Again, you are selling your business, right? But what you're really doing is selling someone the opportunity to buy your business. So if they are interested, if they have that missing puzzle piece, there's going to be timelines. We need signed NDAs. We need indications of interest. We're going to have Zoom meetings. We need follow-up questions. There needs to be steps. People need to fetch rocks to indicate, to stay in the process, to prove that there's a bona fide interest. And so nothing is reactive, it is all proactive. We want a conveyor belt. We're not going to sit on a park bench eating chocolates with Forrest Gump, waiting for all the good things in life to happen. It doesn't work that way outside of Disney movies. Conveyor belt, process, proactive. Number 9 are terms of offers. And so, imagine if you're the client, you're selling your business. Your banker calls you up and say, hey Bob, hey Sally, we got 10 offers here. Listen to this one, listen to that one, listen to this one. What do you think we should do? And maybe you don't even get one phone call with all these things. You get 10 different phone calls all throughout different times of the week saying, hey, what do you think? How should we get back? Oh, I got to get back to this person. Right? And you start to say, synthesize this for me. Make this clear. Make this understandable. Why do I have to be the one to determine? You're supposed to be the one who says what we go back with, how we organize it. And so the process of terms, offers, of negotiations, we can kind of lump those all together, has to be organized. You have to create a matrix. Say, okay, where are all of these offers relative to value, relative to structure, relative to transition, relative to stakeholders? Here's all of the parties, here's where they are on all these things, and now let's iterate it. Let's make it all horses kind of racing against one another. So again, instead of having, let's call these 8 different boats in the ocean, right? Each with their own kind of lines trying to catch fish. Instead, you have one large boat with a bunch of lines off it. And that way, when all the fish come on the boat, you can compare them side by side. You can then iterate and negotiate. And guess what? The competitive exercise of people knowing they're competing against other people, of people being on the same timeline as other people, is going to push things better. It's going to extract better terms. And so finally, number 10 is diligence. Now, there's a lot of people that will go and get a blue label scotch and a big steak once an LOI is signed. However, we have seen, not with our own firm, but in the market, many, many deals die between the signing of an LOI and the closing of a deal. A deal is closed. A banker has done its job successfully when the cash is in the bank, when the wires have cleared, not just when someone's made an offer. Now, there's a bunch of different ways people can try to phase out of a deal, can try to evade it, and you have to be incredibly clear, both before and after the LOI is signed, that diligence is going to be confirmatory, not evaluative. We're confirming, we're looking for landmines. You're not going to have the opportunity to say if you really like the thing. So there's some prep work that goes into that. And then during diligence, you need to make sure that there's not so much deal fatigue that people just walk away, that it's a mess, that no one's organizing it, that no one's corralling it, that no one's making sure the accountants, the lawyers, the company, the executives are all doing the right things, while at the same time the company keeps performing. It's a lot of things to juggle. You need a Sherpa to get up that mountain. You need someone who's checking in on all of these things, and that's what a good banker does. So what's the secret? The results are the output, not the input. They are the product, if you will. The ultimate deal you get, the ultimate deal you push through diligence, the ultimate money that lands in the bank, transition you have for the rest of your life, structure that you have to worry about or not, and what happens to your employees are going to be the product of all of these variables that make every investment bank very different. Appreciate everyone's time. Keep pushing forward. God bless. We'll see everyone next time.